Before we get started, we always want to take the time to thank everyone for taking the time out to join House of Yuya. And we always want to let you guys know House of Yuya is an extension of Chief Yuya, who is our master, our head, our Jegna, founder of Our New Life Global Ministries. And every Sabbath, that is every 7 day, he goes live. He goes live on the Our New Life Global Ministry YouTube channel, and he delivers a Sabbath message. And then we follow behind and we share our wisdom and insight as women in his house, who are reflecting his teachings and his guidance. So we have been going through a series of the righteous family, where he has touched on numerous topics where we can explore different ideas and concepts. That's everything from vetting, everything from emotional intelligence, down to courting. And recently, today, he did the segment on marriage. And so we want to have this segment be centered around just reflecting on some of the things that he taught. But also, for those of you who have been following us, we want to know what is some of the value that you all have been getting out of these segments. If you have been watching the last couple of weeks, we want to know what are some of the things that you have taken away and have begun to apply. What changes have you been making within your life, within your family, and even if you are married, within your marital context? What are some things you've been taking away? Share them with us. And as we go through this journey of this episode, we welcome everyone to share. Just share. So with that being said, Coach, I'll let you take us off and kind of share what it is our master taught today.
Yeah, I just want to greet everyone in the chat who's coming back in. So peace, Chief Iya, peace, Akosi Yafe, peace, Sovereign Eats, peace, Safta Hava, peace, Master Menelik, peace, Abba Haru, peace, the Unity Mandala, Priest, Empress Divine One, peace, welcome. Yeah, so we're just getting into the righteous family. Chief, you guys spoke about marriage today, and he spoke about the difference between when you have a covenant versus when you're binding with your mate through sex, and the difference between the two. And I really valued what was shared and what he broke down. One of the things that stuck out is when he spoke about covenant being forever. And I also thought about, like, a lot of times when people conjoin with someone, they don't establish a true covenant, right? And all kind of issues arise like during the marriage. And it seems like even when it comes to forsaking or not going through the proper courtship or courting process, and when you find out like you're incompatible with that person, and it kind of it goes downhill from there. So I really value the difference of him speaking about like having a true covenant versus just conjoining with someone and you just had sex and that's that. We're together now. But it's like, was that covenant truly established under the Most High Yah? But yeah, that was what stuck out as far as what he taught today.
Yeah, I think that was a good point, because it references also maybe the way we have been taught in Western culture, and we always talk about the difference in a Western perspective versus the Eastern perspective. And for those of you who are new and don't know, of course, when we say Western perspective, we're talking about those of us who have a central culture that we come from, but because we are here in this land, foreign land, we have began to take on ideas and thoughts of foreign people, right? Versus what we were originally designed and created to function, how we were originally designed to function. So what you said, it made me think of just how much we're so far away from the way that we're supposed to actually conjoin with each other. So I think that ties us back to why we're doing these segments and why we're having these insights. Not to just get on here and just talk and just to be talking, but to let everybody know that this is very important. It's very important for us to understand these things because it's the foundation of who we are as a people. You know, being able to go back to the original way we are designed to be and function, it allows us to see the importance of the covenant and that thing that's forever. You know, when you're talking about generations and your family and people that are coming after us. So it starts with when we begin to join with one another, you know, and being intentional.
Absolutely. Our Haru said the value I've been learning is knowing the difference between our culture and the worldly culture. Absolutely, because a lot of what we've been taught, it seems like it has been from the Western, the worldly culture. Certain people, they value what they've been taught there. Like I can say, like certain women, like they value like dating and dating multiple people. Um, they value that. I know I've heard some women say like, "Oh, date around. You don't have any experience. How you know what you're doing?" And it's a total opposite of our culture and what we do, where a woman is to like, no, you should remain a virgin. Make sure that when you choose your mate, that's it, because a covenant is forever, and you don't want to bring like that old baggage into a relationship. Like Chief shared, he was like, oftentimes when you have many like sexual partners, it's hard for you to bond, or you're stuck in the past. You're not really truly able to really move on.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said that, I was like, that's really sad. Like, that's so sad. But that is a result of the worldly culture and being taught, the worldly culture and not our own. So,
Yeah, I think about when you say that, like you kind of spread yourself out and you're not able to really bond. What is it that brings us back to the way that we're supposed to function? And I guess I think about the compass, but it's something like the laws, the statutes, the commandments, everything that we're given, it binds us back to the way that we're supposed to function. So if we're moving through life and we come in contact with a foreign thought, something that might say, oh, you may have to kiss many frogs before you find your Prince Charming. I've heard that, right?
yeah, that fairy tale stuff.
Right. We have something that we can look at, which is our laws, statutes, and commandments. We can look at it and say, okay, well, wait a minute. I hear what you're saying, but this over here tells me something different. It tells me this is the way I'm supposed to function. And then thinking long term, like we're actually building something, So what I'm doing right now, the covenant that I'm establishing with this man or this woman right now is going to affect my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and so on and so forth. So I think it's also a matter of like realizing that you're building something with another person. And we have to think long-term instead of short-term. I just want to jump into bed with this person and have sex because it feels good.
Right.
Or I want to con them out of their money, or I just want to be able to say I had this one or I had that one. But what is the long-term goal? What is the promise that you're making?
Right.
I think things.
Yeah, I think about I don't know if we want to just jump to the comment. Well, Master like he said, the value for me has been a more complete overview on building family. A lot of what we learn are from mishash of various sources that are not from a singular cultural root. Absolutely. That is, yes. That is true, and that's why I value like what Chief has taught. Like even in Solutions for Dysfunctional Families, he shared the different questions that you can ask someone. Those important questions to get to know someone, to see like, are we in alignment in terms of like our thinking, and like will we be able to live the same culture? I think about when people become like quote unquote conscious, or women who became conscious, they'll say like, oh, I feel like I'm on a higher level all of a sudden, but it's kind of like what the heck? So it's like, okay, what type of questions did you ask in the beginning of the union? Did you ask those important questions and talk about values, talk about things that were really important to you, and discussions about family, how you want to raise children? Like you can tell that those conversations were not had before there was before sex happened or before children were created. Like you can tell. And even when people like have marriage counseling, you have these same common issues. Oh, it's about finances. The person doesn't feel respected or cared for, and it's kind of like you kind of go back to like Master Milek was saying, like that cultural root, like, okay, what was this founded on? And you could tell like it wasn't founded on any principle, because why would there even be issues of this person doesn't respect me, or, you know,
Right. I think about being able to see the deity in one another. You know, if you respect and honor your Elohim and you see the Elohim in one another, then I feel like some of those issues would be dispersed, or they wouldn't even exist. If we truly love and respect our Elohim. But we know as Israel that has been one of our issues. So again, as we're expanding on these ideas and these teachings, is for us to be able to see this is who we are. This is the truth of who we are. Now that we see, you know, these things don't work for us, what are we going to do differently moving forward? And I want to ask Master Menelek, as he shared, maybe you can share one idea or maybe one way of doing certain things that has been dispersed since these series have been being taught. If you can share maybe just one example, that would be really great. Thank you.
Yeah. Rocky's Life says, one of the questions that came up for me from today's video was, do I truly have a covenant with Anu / the Most High, or am I just trying to bond incorrectly? Yeah. I mean, I think that's a sincere question to think about. You know, I mean, I think about the tools that we have in Anu. We have so many tools in terms of like, why do people come together? What is the purpose? We have doctrine that outlines like, okay, this is the role of a man, this is the role of a woman, these are the qualities a man should have, these are the qualities that a woman should have. So I think that we've been like given a lot of information, and we've been taught like the purpose for why you would conjoin with someone. You know,
like that he's posing that question, and that he's already thinking that, because I just think about how many of us, we didn't think before we acted. You know, we did the two before the one. We put the two before the one. We did the wisdom and the action before actually asking ourselves, okay, what am I doing it? You know, what am I doing, and why is it important? You know, so I'm grateful that you're asking yourself that question, you know?
Yeah. Abba Harut says, everything begins with your covenant. Whom do you have allegiance to? Yes, absolutely. I think about like some people have allegiance to vanity. They have an allegiance to money and finances. Like Chief even said it. I think it was in the last Sabbath Insight, how women say like, "Oh, I want a man that make a certain amount of money," and it's like, okay, what are you allegiance to? Like you're allegiance to money more so than the character or the vision that a man has, and then you have complaints of like, oh, well, this man doesn't have direction. I have to be the decision maker. And it's like, because you put value on money. And it's like,
oh man,
that's not worth much.
It takes the allegiance. Like if you do have a family, for those of us who may, but think about the children. When the children are put into a school that's, you know, curated by the state, and they make them say the Pledge of Allegiance. You know, it's something to be mindful of, because you're putting your children in a space where they're making an allegiance to something to an Elohim that is not theirs. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, all of this that we're talking about, I can see how important it is to understand when you're making a covenant with someone and you're living out a culture, why that's important. It's a shield of protection. You know, we can't keep throwing our babies away, you know, generation after generation. We have to come together and really, really get this. Like, now is the time, you know, so.
Absolutely. Master Menelek says, for those of us who are building families, Chief's work in general takes a huge amount of guesswork out of the process, right? It does. It absolutely does. I agree with that. And I think about how in America there's a 80% divorce rate, and it's like, that's really, really high. That's extremely high. I mean, that's enough to be like, okay, this ain't working. There's something that we're doing wrong, you know? And I can say one of the things that stuck out is like this, the the very foundation of like women not functioning as women and or men not functioning as men, you know. And it's like I think that would like that would help to negate a lot of issues as well. Like just having that, like having the roles down pat. So after Hava said, I appreciate learning that without an oath there is no covenant.
Now, how are you going to apply that? Or have you begun to apply it already? Like, how have you been already applying it? There was,
Yeah.
he said that I thought was very beautiful. I wanted to just share it. But this to me, it makes me think of Anu. So being able to explore the ideas of courting, marriage in a controlled space, and being able to slow things up. You know, I think about, you know, these ideas that we've been given and not being able to really dig and see, like, what does this actually mean? What does it look like? And, you know, for so long we've been given, this is the definition of a marriage. This is the definition of love. This is, you know, this is what courting should be. You're dating. And now that we're inside of I Knew, which is a controlled space because we have a culture and it's safe, we can explore those things. We can be open and honest with one another and say, well, man, this is what I got when I was out there, you know, in the world when I wasn't separated, you know, and man, I can see how this affected, you know, this point of my life, or when I joined with this sister, it didn't work. And we can just explore and it's safe, you know, so I just.
Absolutely. Rock Gives Life says, the value that I'm getting is the ability to take these different concepts and look at how I am connecting with the Most High, which then will lead to not being able to connect with my counterpart.
Mm.
Okay.
You know, I had a, I won't say a similar, what I want to say. I had a moment where I was like, man, I feel like I'm not consistent with my connection or how I'm communing with the Most High. And I was like, man, I feel like because I'm not praying every day or I'm not affirming every day, I feel like I don't have a consistent relationship with the Most High. And I was like, well, if I can't have a consistent relationship with the Most High, then how can I have a consistent relationship with my mate? Or if I have children? You know, it bothered me. And I think one of the points that I made was that when Chief said, or Master said, the law, statutes, and the commandments give you an opportunity to establish a relationship with the person or Elohim you are in covenant with. It made me think just about what he just said, but the idea is like if you're constantly following the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, then you're constantly communicating with your Elohim. So you're constantly in a relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're never not communing with the Most High. You're every day that relationship is growing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that makes me think of oh man, the thought just was like it just walked. Oh man, it was right there. Yes, okay, it came back. I just thinking about how like this is why love is not based on a feeling. And he said in the Anu Wage, he spoke about how at the onset of relationship you want to have discipline and respect. And I think about like, okay, if you have those principles and you have those qualities, then you are already going to properly love a person, you know, because off of the strength that you have that character inside of you, you're disciplined, you're following this culture, you're connected, and the other person is too, then it's like you're automatically going to be loving each other and doing things that are loving, you know, because people who are disrespectful are not loving. People who lack discipline are not loving, because like I think about like the discipline that it comes with like eating healthy or working out and taking care of your body. Like you're not disciplined, and it's like that's even showing a lack of love and appreciation for your own body, you know. So
And that's things that's in the Anu way. We are supposed to have those daily movements, and you know, and I just think about, like you said, like the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, it binds us back. You know, it pulls us back to who we are supposed to be and function. And you know, once you have that, it's hard to not love, you know, your brother or your sister. It's hard to not do that. So, consistency.
Mm-hmm. Okota Yamina. So I was trying to go back and see what Okota Yamina and Okota Yafe had said. You got a lot of comments up in here.
Keep them coming.
Y'all giving a lot. Okay, we're a little slow. Let me go back up. Let me go. Okay, go. Okota Yamina said, "Yeah, that spreading of your spirit comes from dating." Mm-hmm. And then Okota Yafe says that's basically saying go whore yourself so you can get a husband. Yes, I wanted to tie those two comments together because Keith mentioned like women don't realize that when they go and they like spread their spirit out like that, it's like you lose your connection to be able to have like a covenant with a man, like because you're not able to like pair bond, you're not able to connect, and it's like so you even ruin like the possibility of even having something divine. Or if you're stuck in the past and you're holding on to your past experiences, like how can you even like enter into a covenant or make a promise to someone because you may be coming to a relationship like, oh, well, this man did this to me, so I can't trust. And it's like, so you're already coming in saying that I can't make any promises to you because I'm having a hard time trusting, so. Yeah.
But it could also be because you've spread your spirit out so far, maybe you're not even able to trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't trust myself, how can I trust another person? I would see that other person as an enemy. And I mean, that is something that I can say is a very big hurdle to get over. I can speak from experience. Like, you just have to learn how to, really trust yourself and to, get to a space where you can trust someone else, and I think, again, that understanding our culture and who we are, it can pull you back to that space to be able to do that again. I really do.
I agree with that. Master Menelik said one example of an idea that's been dispelled is that of understanding attachment theory and the psychological discovery that needs to be done. Yes, because that helps us get to know the person that we're with, and like also understanding like, okay, this person had this sort of upbringing, so maybe I can look at something like it helps me to know who that person is or what I may need to look out for and things of that nature, or even like what the person needs to work on, because sometimes we come into relationships and we want the other person to fill pieces of us because we're not whole. But that's why when he started the series, he laid down the foundation, like you have to be whole people or none of this is even gonna make sense. So it's like, yeah, that attachment theory is important for those who did not see that. I mean, if you haven't been watching the whole series on the Righteous Family, just go back from the very beginning because we're leading up to somewhere. So just go back and listen. Master Menelik said it made me reconsider the way I'll conduct the discovery process. That's awesome. That's
so
awesome.
It's like, Master Menelik is already with Okota Yamina, so they've had their process. But I mean, I think that's beautiful what he said, because it is a process. You're learning over time. You may have done it one way this time, and then you adjust and you say, okay, I'm going to do it this way the next time. And that's beautiful. That's an excitement. An excitement in itself, because that means you're getting better. You're growing.
Absolutely. Chief, you asked it, how do you consider we are throwing our babies away?
Well,
I think about.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, I think about how we don't give them a fighting chance. Because when a man and a woman can join together, it's like, okay, you have knowledge, wisdom, and then you produce understanding. So those children are supposed to bring about understanding of the purpose of the relationship of those two individuals. That's how I look at it. So it's like, you're not giving them a fighting chance, but like, okay, when we came together, we created you with a certain intention. And so when they come forth, you can see the understanding, like, oh, okay, so that's why they were manifested, because they're bringing this out of the two parents. That's where my mind automatically went to.
I was right there with you. Intention. That was the first word that came to mind. What is the intention? And it starts not just with when you have sex and you're creating the babies, but it starts with your mind. What are your thoughts? When I look at this person, when I look at my mate, what am I thinking? Do I even see see the potential of us bringing forth children. What do we want those children to have? What do we want those children to have inside of them? You know, even the way we choose to treat ourselves. You know, are we eating properly? Are we intaking information that is, you know, fruitful? Are we cultivating the spirits inside of ourselves that is going to house these babies that are going to come forth? You know, and then when they're here, what are we exposing them to? You know, are we intentional about what they're exposed to and what they're shielded from? All of that, you know, we can't just, an example of throwing our babies away is we have babies and we just put tablets in front of them and say, here, you entertain yourself. I'm going to put this cartoon on and you entertain yourself. Well, what are you opening your children up to? You know?
That's a good example. Yeah, I think about the reason why we value homeschooling, you know, within our news. Like you decided to create something, so I'm sure you want to have, you know, as representations or physical manifestations of Elohim that you want to create your children in your image. But when you send them off to the public school system, it's like those teachers are creating them based on the image that that school, like the laws or the codes, or like this is the criteria that we have for those children. So they have something in place, like this is what the children must learn. And but it's like, okay, but when you're homeschooling children, you create the standard, you create exactly what you want them to learn, you set the time, you set the pace. By this year they're gonna be a genius in this area. Like you have full control over what you created,
Right.
you know, you name those children. So like, yeah.
Consider, I knew this is a controlled space, our own culture. So for those of us who are preparing to bring forth families, that's what this is. You know, this is a space where we take back what was taken from us. And for the next generation that's coming in, we could say, this is what it's going to be. You know, this is a safe space, you know. So we have a culture that we live by. Let them have their culture. We're set apart. You know, and I think that's it's a responsibility and it's accountability. You know, so not just throwing our babies away no longer, not anymore. You know, not that we have the truth and we have something that we can place ourselves into. You know, so I hope that.
I see, yeah. That's the middle. It says also the oath and covenant with the Most High that I have and how that informs the family's makeup and function.
That trickling down effect, I think about the hierarchy. So your Elohim, and then you have the man, and then the woman, and then the child. So your covenant that you've already made with the Most High, it should trickle down, you know.
Yeah, I think that shows up like in different families. Like each family has a different meaning and a different purpose. So, and I know we've had discussions inside of our new where you may have the family, they may be known as the musicians, or this family may be known as the, you know, the entrepreneurs, or like, you know, whatever. And like it's just blazing like, okay, that's the type of family they are. And I mean, I think that's even beautiful to even witness and see. Rod Gives Life says, I think when you allow schools and social media to teach and help navigate your child, you end up putting them in the care or a poison culture. Yes. And then you wonder, like, what's wrong with the child? Like, oh, this child is misbehaving. I don't know what to do. And it's like, of course, because you didn't have full control over like the culture and what they're doing. So they may go off to school, you may not even know what's going on. They could be being bullied, or the teacher could be mistreating them or speaking to them a certain type of way, and you wouldn't even know it. And you're wondering, like, and the child may be like, well, I'm not going to tell you because you already don't seem like you're interested in my life, you know. So it's like, it's just all kind of like issues with that. Yeah, you're allowing social media to teach, and yes, and then you, especially for young girls, like looking at social media and seeing like, okay, well, this is the type of woman I need to be. I need to have, you know, my skin showing, and I need to be like, have this, you know, aesthetic, and it's terrible. It's terrible.
It goes back to, well, I wanted to share a quote, because as you said that, like, you're showing your skin and you're looking for attention, you're looking for light, fake light. And it made me think of like you're searching for love, you're looking for love because you don't have any love within yourself. There's the emptiness, and I think we have suffered that. We don't understand the love of the Most High, as people. So I wanted to share this quote, and this quote is from the book called The Complementarity by I'm sorry, Nwalumi Baruti. Okay, and the quote says, "Without marriage, all that exists is collection of fragmented individuals frantically searching for what they have misdefined as love and happiness from whoever or whatever crosses their paths." So when we talk about throwing our children away, not being able to, love ourselves, not being able to come together to have marriage, whether that is first your covenant with the Most High and then with that man or that woman, this is that understanding. Without that, you're literally looking for something that you don't even understand, but you're looking for it from whoever and wherever, whether it's social media, whether it's the concept of money, whatever it is, drugs, whatever it is that has been given to us by foreign people who do not care about us. So that's why we're doing these segments now. It is very important. It's time to return back to who we are, really.
Yeah. And when Chief shared like this culture, he said we have a culture that produces kings and queens. And when I seen that, it's like, okay, well, this culture produces that, then that culture produces people hopping up on a pedestal saying like, I'm queen so-and-so, I'm king this, and you just look like a big old child because it's like your culture didn't like certify you as that. Like, usually like behind closed doors, your community know what it really is. They like, oh no, this person's not really like, they're not really that person, or I've had this certain experience with them and they scammed me or they did this, and it's like, yeah. Just insanity. But I thought that was even powerful, saying like this culture produced kings and queens, and people have like no idea, like if they don't have the right mindset. So I can definitely see why she was like, let's start at the foundation before we even go into polygyny. I need to teach you like this is about the righteous family, And
absolutely. So we get some hearts and some fire. So we hit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Unity Mandala said, my Haitian aunt got married with an American, and once they had children, she was told they would be raised as Americans, not Haitians. She did not prepare for this. See, the courting process would have negated that. It's like, you would have asked like, okay, well, how do you want to raise your children? And you would have had that conversation, and you would have already known like, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work.
It's not. And maybe in some, probably, if she was, maybe would she have compromised?
Yeah, our Ruth said, what I'm appreciating, what Chief is sharing and teaching us is building / cultivating a relationship with our Elohim on a daily basis in order to make righteous family.
What does that look like?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Like, what does that look like?
Examples. Share. We just had this lesson with Master Lastron, but being able to cultivate that love with the Most High, and so we've been trying to find things that puts us in that space. And I think we shared, like, for some of us, it's music. It's just creating music or painting or drawing or maybe doing service work for elderlies or, but that thing that cultivates that love and that connection with your creator every day, no matter what it is,
And the Unity Mandala said, and she never thought she would have children who did not speak Creole. Yeah, well, it does make me think of like, okay, you didn't think about that, but like, what were you thinking about then? What were you thinking about when you could join with the person? Like, if you like, so it's like, was your mind even on those things? So it's like, were you the type of person like, I'm going based off of feeling, or what was it? Chief
I,
Biatch says so. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I also think about, because she's the woman and she's conjoining to that man's world, she is supposed to assimilate to whatever it is that he. So if you decided to marry an American as a woman, then it seems like what your children are being raised in is actually the way it's supposed to
Right.
be.
That part.
So you
Hmm.
can't fight that now after the fact, because it's kind of like, well, that's the way it's supposed to go. So
And that leads me to the scripture that I wanted to share, Ephesians 5:22 through 25. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto Yahuwah. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body. So I'm
mhm,
just leave it there. It's like, okay, like that. I mean, that says what it's supposed to be. Like
mhm,
that's your husband. You submitted to that, so
mhm.
that's what it is. The body has to submit to the Savior. So,
Right.
um, therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it.
Mhm.
So,
So there
and
you go.
yeah.
One up.
GBI said, so those children will be raised under colonialism and not under a self-governing society. That's insanity. I was responding to the Unity Mandala.
Mhm.
Well, Harut says, I keep hearing Chief building the kingdom of Yah on earth.
Mhm. So we
Yeah.
are reflected. So when you think about marriage and you think about family and you think about man, woman, child, we are reflecting. We're supposed to be reflecting what is in heaven here on earth, and that's the, what is it? That's the
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 Trinity.
science, the science of the family and what we're doing. So
Right.
that's where my
That,
mind
yeah,
saw that. Mhm.
mine did too. I thought about family, like the manifestation of the kingdom of Yah on earth is family. Man,
And
woman, child.
Master says, however, the children are to come under the culture of the father. So it is culturally and spiritually correct. Your aunt made it
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning. That's just what I said. Like, that is okay. Master,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what he taught me. So I'm only speaking on what I have been taught. So
Mm-hmm.
um, he asked, can he join? Can you add him in, Akoti? I
I'll
think he
see
wants
if
to get
I
in
can.
and explore,
Okay,
which we have.
see if I can. Let me see if I can add. I just accepted the request, so we'll see. Oh, peace,
See,
Peace. How are you guys
peace.
doing?
great, great.
Um,
Well,
yeah, I just wanted to add something small that I've been like thinking about. 'Cause yesterday I was thinking, I was going over some of the videos, and I was really looking at how Chief has been building up all these videos going up. And if you see, like in his last study session, I think it was yesterday, or maybe I don't remember exactly video it was, but he was talking about studying and it not really being like the sexy thing to do, right? And today he was speaking about becoming one. And when you think about studying, and Chief brought up the like the example of like you have these orishas and you don't really understand like the scientific background of these things, that's you trying to become one with that entity, right? Understanding how it works inside and out, right? And this is kind of the same way like Chief has spoken about you know I think it was the video about our father where he said, people ask like, how do I become closer with the Most High? And it's like, it's right there. But because you won't read it and you won't get into it, you won't be able to become one with it, right? And it even goes back to the beginning segments where he was speaking about like childhood, right? You won't even become one with your own child, the you as that inner child, right? And you seem to forget things, and it makes you look over some of your habits, right? And I can say something from my own testimony is like when I came out here, I started to go to therapy, and because I was already in Anu, I understood that what they're going to give you in therapy is not going to be correctly on par with our culture, but they might give you tools that you can use,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would use the tools that they would give me and use it with some of their new teachings, and it helped me get over some of my own childhood things. And going back to what Chief had asked about, what's it called? How do we like give away our children? For me, it was eye opening, and it was good to see that like we were on a call, and Chief had asked me like, what's going on with you, and I told the whole group about something that like I was going through that was kind of from my past, and I wasn't shamed, I wasn't looked down upon, and I was able to kind of get over that within the group setting, right? So that's also kind of becoming that one thing where now, okay, you know me and you can help me, and then I can know you, and then we can kind of move forward as like brothers and sisters, right? So for me, that kind of becoming one has been kind of big for me, because like I know Koti Marjorie, you're talking about like you had that point where you were sitting and you're kind of just thinking like, I'm not really being consistent and not being intentional, right? And I'm kind of going through that same thing right now where I'm looking at just these different aspects in my life where instead of looking at, okay, I have this, I should be looking at, okay, what don't I have, right? And kind of going from there, and then kind of putting those two together and saying, okay, you know what, like how do I make this become one, right? And how do I become holistic instead of fragmented, because a lot of us are fragmented, right? So instead of saying, you know what, I have this, so I'm good to go, right? I can look at, okay, I don't have this, let me work on this, and then see how that matches up what I do have, and then I can make a better decision to say, okay, you know what, now I'm ready to go, right? And then also like being in a new, you have elders who are around you who can point out like, you don't have this yet, so you're not ready to go, right? And one of the questions that I had when I was on the video today is like I said earlier, like how do you know you have that covenant? How do you know where you're at, right? And that's why another reason why it's good for you to like in last night's video, Chief was saying like as a man you really shouldn't worry about what anybody thinks of you other than someone who's on your path that's watching over you, right? So for me, at exactly in my head, that and Chief, those are the only people I should be really looking at. I'd be like, hey, this is what I should be looking at, right? But a lot of times, today, like you were saying, young girls are online. We're looking at, how girls are acting, or young men. Like I'm supposed to be this aggressive. Like it's not like it's idiotic aggressive, right? It's not where you're being methodical and you're being smart about how you're moving. It's like anything that happens, I'm just gonna react, right? And that kind of goes back to that being one thing where you don't want to be one with everything, right? You want to be intentional with what you're being one with, and right, and realizing which covenant you have and who you're actually bonding with is very important, right? So even small things like we spoke about recently too was like, yeah, your family is what brought you here. Like your mom may have pushed you out, or you may have your uncle who looked after you as a kid, but who in this point in time is helping your spiritual growth, right? Was helping you go forward and really become a better person and a child of the Most High, and going back to that original kingdom, right? That's who you kind of want to be one with, right? So for me, it's just kind of looking at all these different segments and realizing, like Chief said, you want to become one. So these segments aren't separate. And a lot of times Chief has to remind us in the videos, like I'm still talking about the same thing. But if you have the eye to see, you'll see like, no, this is the same concept, even from before. Like you can go back to videos like where he was doing the forget those podcasts, but the beginning podcast, forget the name of them. But even those, you can kind of go back and you can kind of add things up, right? You can go back to the video of like the vibration, right? Where, okay, what vibration are you on? That also can go back to the family, right? Because if you're on a separate vibration from your mate, that's not really a righteous union, because you guys are supposed to be one, right? And the same thing with your children. If you're, like Chief always says, how are you following a certain doctrine, but your child is outside doing whatever they want to do, right? So I think it's important to point that out too, because a lot of times we get hung up in the video and it feels so good, and we think, oh, Chief is like he's spitting it, But it's like if you kind of go back, start to see he's been saying the same thing, and it's only for you to kind of figure out, okay, where am I missing, right?
Right.
For me, like I'm missing a lot, but the more I begin to start picking out the pieces and realize, okay, this is where I got to put this piece, like a puzzle piece, basically, right? Like a puzzle that you have to start putting small things together in order to kind of create a bigger picture, right? And it's good to talk about, what's missing, but you need to figure out what's there first so you can understand what's missing. If you don't, then you really won't get to where you're trying to go. And
There was something that you said that I thought was, it kind of took me down a path that you were talking about, like how we may have our family who we were born, family too, and we may have had an uncle that looked out for us, and we may have had your mother who birthed you. But I thought about, like, sometimes the Most High can put certain people in place to protect and guide you and lead you back to Him. You know what I mean? So I was able to think about that within my own journey. There are people who have came and gone, who are no longer physically here, but I can look back and see where that was the Most High looking out for you, because you didn't have it in you. You didn't know. And to be led to, I knew, and to be led to my master now, I can see, oh, you were being led back to the Most High. He's been keeping you this whole time, So that was something that you said that it took me down that path.
yeah,
And
my bad. Go ahead.
Hmm?
No, I'm saying go ahead. I thought I over you. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying this is a safe space. This is, again, I go back to what you said, being able to explore these ideas in a controlled space. It's safe, and we can get these expressions out and talk about, like you said, the areas where we may be lacking certain things, and what do we have, so yeah, just
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, how has this series changed your perception in terms of preparing for your own family one day?
For me, I feel like, not feel like I know, the biggest thing that I has changed for me is looking at, like, when I was young, I always told my mom I didn't want to get married. Like, I always just thought that wasn't for me, right? And now realizing what I thought marriage was, like, I thought it was like this thing where, like, I gotta, like, submit to someone who's probably gonna yell at me all day, probably trying to know what I got, probably trying to, like, make sure I don't really get anywhere because they don't want to see me do better than them. Like, just because the relationships that I saw as a kid weren't always the best, right? So I just said I didn't want that. But now really looking at it is like, I do want a family that can succeed. Like, for me, I want a family that, people can look at and say, that's that family right there. Like, they do these type of things, and, like, they're good in the community, right? I want to be able to have a family where people aren't gonna say, like, yeah, your woman was saying this about you, like, before, because me and her have a certain type of standard where she's not gonna go side and disrespect me, because at the same time I'm moving in a certain way where you can't say certain things about me because that's just not true. And even if you do, other people will be able to see, like, that's not him, right? So for me, it's like, it's changing my whole perspective on what I had seen for myself, because I always see myself like, yeah, I'm gonna have kids, but I'm gonna just be doing my own thing for the rest of my life, and realizing, like, that's not the way to go, because that's not, for one, no man truly wants that. Like, even if I'm still young, like, at the end of the day, I still want to have my wife, I still want to have my children, I still want to have like, that kingdom on earth, right? So for me, is like realizing, like, I can't even have that concept in mind where I don't want to be married anymore, and I got to fix that within myself, because what I thought it was is not what it truly is, right? And if I keep coming at it from that, like, Western perspective, I'm always going to be stuck, right? And I kind of wanted to go to that's the next question, where he asked, what kind of examples are you looking to be able to set for those coming under you? even just small stuff like that. Like recently, I've been volunteering at a youth center, right? And the center that I'm volunteering at is there's only one other black guy who's running it, and the rest of them are obviously not. And there's a lot of black kids who are coming in, right? So for me, I want to be able to show them like you can be a cool guy, but you don't have to be idiotic and you don't have to be rambunctious, right? You can come in and be poised. You don't got to be yelling. You don't got to be running up and down, jumping off the tables and stuff, right? But you can still be cool, right? And even small things like I said about the marriage thing, like what you see in this like world, you don't have to always follow that. There could be something better, right? So even one thing that I was talking to a kid about is he was like because we were playing cards, and he was like, like Raheem's so quiet when he's playing. Like you can't, you got to watch out for that guy because you don't know what cards he has in his hand. And I'm like, you don't always have to be that loud guy at the table. You can feel your hand and still play, right? And it's easier to come out, like Chief said a while back, is like, it's easier to get things done when you're not a moving target. When you're not even a target at all, you can get a lot more things done. So Chief has also said, like, I'm not gonna put my battle plan out just so you can make a battle plan against my battle plan, right? I'm gonna keep it to myself so I can get things done. So you don't always have to be out there just doing everything so people can see. Because like Chief also said yesterday, was like, people have received things from him and nobody knows, right? You can do what you need to do as an individual that's helping people, go getting your money or whatever, and you don't have to be so loud about it, right? So there's like just the small basic things, like even just being respectful. Like now, not cool to be coming in a room and saying good afternoon or however you say it, right? And not kind of disrespect anybody. Now you got to come in and say F you, F this, and everything like that, and that makes you cool, right? So just seeing that there's different ways to live life, and there's ways to actually be righteous, right? And like righteous just being in right step, right? So being in right step may not mean I'm gonna go spend $2,000 on the newest Gucci belt, but it may mean I'm gonna put that money down and realizing, okay, the economy is dropping, let me buy some land just in case something ever happens so I can go there, right? So now the person that has that $2,000 Gucci belt ain't got nothing and everything crashes, but you got something to fall back on, right? So I just think small things like that, like just doing things in right step instead of trying to follow everybody, is what I want to kind of show. Because at the end of the day, I don't have everything, right? I don't have all the tools to be like, yeah, I do this, do that. All I can show is just be a light and say like, okay, when you come in here, you don't see me screaming at people. You don't see me putting hands on people. You don't see me cussing at people. Like I'll even tell them like, I don't mind if you guys want to use certain words, but just don't use it around me. Right? You're not going to do that around me. You're not going to be swearing up like a storm around me, because that's what Chief taught me when I came in here. Like, you're not going to come into these calls and just be like cussing the whole time, right? So that's definitely what I wanted to share. Thank you guys for having me. I don't even know how to exit out of this thing, but thank you guys for
coming on and sharing.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no problem. Thank
Yeah.
you. Peace.
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 You
Yeah,
know,
I thought. Oh gosh.
no,
I was just gonna say.
we double
But yeah, we are. I was just gonna say when he said like the reason why he didn't want to get married because he thought about what the woman would say about him, like that communal embarrassment. And I just thought about the value of being a part of our culture because we've learned like the woman doesn't get any value by slandering the man that she's with. Like, you're going to look terrible right along with the person that you're slandering. You're not going to get no kudos for that. Whereas in the worldly culture, you know, she may be like, she'll be given all the support for that. But in our culture, it's like, no, like, you don't get that, you know.
He definitely touched on some really, really great things. One of the things that stood out to me when he said he spoke to the young brothers and was like, hey, you don't have to, you know, do this, and you don't have to be loud, and you know, he brought a sense of modesty into the space, and I feel like he brought his culture into a space where there was no culture. And I think about that is what we are supposed to be as Anu. We are supposed to bring that spirit of the Most High into whatever space that we go into. And we're supposed to be that model, you know, and bring people back to the kingdom. So very, very, very happy that he jumped on and shared that. Very proud to say that's my brother.
Yeah.
So thank you.
We have so many comments in the chat. I'm not sure where we left off at, but let me go back here. Master Middlex says, supposed to go according to whose culture they didn't establish or agree upon the culture they will be operating with before bonding with one another. I think he's talking about the American and Haitian couple. Abba Haru said, it looks like knowing that you are becoming an example / standing up against oppression, being in harmony with nature, keeping your thoughts clear without letting the outside chatter interfere with.
I'm trying to find it in the chat myself.
Okay. Standing up against oppression, being in harmony with nature. Yeah, that sounds like what we're doing in Anu. You know, we're living a set apart life, so we have to like kind of tune out that outside chatter because we realize like this is our culture. Like we have kings and queens over here. Like that's what our culture has the power to do, and that culture does not. You know, again, 80% divorce rate over there. So
you need a culture that sends you. You know, that's what Anu is. It pulls and ascends us beyond what the world has told us we are, because that's you know, if you have it, like you said, if you have a ghetto mentality, that's the way you're going to choose to live. But here it's like you have a royal, you're filtering out what has been given to us, and we're taking back in what we were supposed to be. You know, we are righteous and we are divine. We are supposed to be kings and queens. So, you know, this culture, it does that. It really does.
Abu Haru says, being in balance while striving to edge out our personal impurities from living in an unrighteous world. Yeah. Master Malik says, what kind of example are you looking to be able to set for those who come up under you? Rock gives life. That's a great question. GPI, he did. Oh, GPI shared, if you have a superior doctrine and you don't apply it to your child rearing, there is no way you love your children. This is why women must choose their heads wisely.
Yeah, and I like when he said if you have a superior doctrine. I think about what he mentioned last night, like how we may look to other people and want to follow their doctrine and do what they're doing, and they're looking at us like, okay, we know who you are, and we know the way that you know you're supposed to be moving is actually superior than what we're doing, but you want this, like you want this $5.99 chicken box when you over there and you can have the 5-star restaurant meal. But you know, so I think about that as women, like when you come into the truth, then you know now you have the responsibility to choose which way are you going to go, and do you really love your children? Do you really love, you know, do you really love them? You know, what are you going to choose to follow? So
GPI said, if people knew the work that goes into making a space safe, you wonder why you have to keep the circle / community small at times. Yeah, that makes me think about like even with support groups, like how they always have to say like this is a safe space, and it's like it's a small group of people who are in a safe space, and they always have to say that like you are in a safe space, like what's said in here stays here, sort of thing. So yeah, I thought about that. Chief, you guys said you're desiring the right things. Rock gives life. Those are the visions of great men. You are thinking about your legacy and not just your immediate comfort and pleasure.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's beautiful. I think,
Intention.
yeah, exactly.
Why are you doing what you're doing? Why? What does it mean? Are you thinking long term? Are you building? Because if you're a person who builds, and I've heard masters say this, like a person who builds, they're thinking long term. You know, it's not just what I want in the moment, and mm-mm.
They have
So
a vision.
back to building. Hmm.
Mhm. Master Miller says you will be giving them better options of ways to be and making them aware of the poison in their environment.
Mm.
Absolutely. Saving the babies, saving the youth.
The
Um,
best.
the best plan is a quiet plan. Mm.
Hmm. Keep it moving. Me announcing, Master says, me announcing that I show charity to a person is like me announcing to the room that I have a wee wee.
Okay.
Men, give it should be expected and not expectation. Oh, giving should be expected, not. I definitely, I think that goes back to something he said about is when we're young, like it's just certain things that as little boys and little girls we innately do. Like little boys always want to help. I think little girls always want to be a part of a community. Like they always want to sit next to each other and do things together as a, you know, as opposed to when we get older, now everything becomes about me, and what I want, and I'm my own person. You know, so certain things we've been deprogrammed away from. You know, we've been pushed to think something totally different than how we were actually designed to be. So that's what I think about when I read that comment from Master.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think
All right.
about those who like, oh, we got a lot of comments. Well, let's just get through because um,
Yeah,
that's
these comments though,
I
they're
know it's a lot of people like adding to the build. Like, yeah, we appreciate that. Master Miller like said, last time I tried to exit, I ended the whole doggone
good.
live. I remember that. Master Miller says you left off where Raheem asked if he could. Okay, he's responding to someone else. I think this is the last comment GVS says kings are proven by their ability to raise up a queen, not a queen. Queens are proven by their ability to raise up young kings and queens.
Mm-hmm. And we learned
Yeah,
this in our 120
120.
lesson. So for those of you
Mm-hmm.
who are watching, some of the things that we study and that we are taught in Anu, we do study the 120. And what he's talking about is a king being able to raise that queen from to her highest degree of equality. So that is making her equal in knowledge, equal in her wisdom, and equal in understanding. And once that's there, you are unstoppable. Unstoppable.
So like,
The nation.
yeah, I think that yeah, and that goes back to the vetting too, like the vetting and when they're listening with their eyes and not with their ears. Like I mean, this is a beautiful culture. This is a beautiful culture because it's like it negates all the problems that people say they have in marriages in the worldly society. Like everything that they come up with a problem is like we have a solution for that would have
Exactly.
prevented it. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, if that don't tell you like this is divine, then I don't know what else what else would, you know.
Wow.
So
Well, I know we are coming up on maybe an hour mark, so I don't want to keep everybody too long. But I do want to share some things before we hop off. Um, and one of the things, I had a couple of books that I just wanted to share with those of you who are watching and are new to the space. And let me just say, the books that I'm getting ready to share are not books that I just said, hey, you know, read this. It's not me, but it's books that have been given to me by my master, by my head. And I just want to share them as you all out there may be going through your process of deprogramming and coming into a space where you're seeking truth and you are desiring a family. So I just wanted to share. I mentioned earlier Complementarity. And that's a book by Mwalimu Baruti, and I'm going to spell that just in case. But that's MWALIMU, Baruti, BARUTI, and that's complementarity. Another book that I think would be helpful, The Willie Lynch Letter and the Making of a Slave.
Good one.
Oh, I said it wrong in my Steve move. I am so sorry. I'm going to work on it. But the Willie Lynch Letter and the Making of a Slave, again, these are tools that you can use to understand how we've been programmed here, and why it's important to take the lessons that our master is giving us now seriously and begin to do the work. Another book that I want to recommend, of course, I can't not recommend it, but it's Solutions for Dysfunctional Family Relationships. And of course, this is a book that was written by our master, Chief Yuya. And then finally, get the I New Way. What other book can you get? You know, what other book would top the list? The I New Way. So that's all I wanted to share before we close out. Is there anything else you want to share, Koti?
That will be all.
I'm not but join us again next strong in another 7 days, and we'll be following up with our master's next teaching session or Sabbath lesson. So thank you to everybody who joined us today. Thank you for those of you who shared their insight. Thank you for hopping on, brother. Thank you. And like, share, and subscribe and share. Go to the I New Life Global Ministry website if you want to join our community and be a part of it, and you want to be a part of that safety net in a controlled space where it's safe, and you can get the tools that you need, you can get the support that you need. And also, we have a retreat that's coming up. So if you want to, before you want to see what it looks like in real life, right, family functioning, come on to the retreat. I think the theme this year is We Are One. So come on.
Yeah, we're going to experience that what it's like to really live in nature. We're going to have a good time. I appreciate y'all, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much. This was a wonderful build. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Peace.
On the rest of your Sabbath.
Peace.
You still rocking out with us? That's right. Check out some of our previous episodes to learn more about what the sisters in the house are doing. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and catch Chief Yuya live every Sabbath. Only on House of Yuya.